And so we're making those tweaks to ensure that we are in a position to be able to choose who the next Prime Minister is. And that's making this House and the media and the rest of the country nervous.
Tuatahi aki mihi ana kia kōrua I whai wā ki te kōrero kia mātou. Hoi no kei te pēhea kōrua.
Kei te pai. Awesome.
Yeah, kei te pai. Yeah. Oho I te ata. He rangi pai tēnei.
Had a big spring of energy arrive in our caucus yesterday, so
Exciting
she's
time.
awesome.
Aye.
Pai te rārāne. How did that go? How did you feel the maiden speech went?
I mean, I only really got to know Ordini during the campaign period, but she was strong, she was on point, and she did what needed to be said, which was to mihi to all the kaupapa that made her the benefactor of the resilience, which was awesome.
Well, I think I've never seen a maiden speech get 3 bells and a long bell in the third one, but I think, yeah, it was a wonderful day to celebrate who we are. It was wonderful to see all our tamariki up there. And for them to be able to see themselves in the House. We've got a raukura who's been through kohanga reo kura kaupapa, the aho matua movement, and also wharekura. To see themselves in this House, I think it was just a beautiful day to be Māori, and a beautiful day to see our raukura finally get to the point and to achieve the dreams that our tipuna had when they were fighting for those particular kaupapa. So it was just a wonderful day.
Kia ora. So that was earlier in the day, and then you had a planned reset which followed. And in that reset, you used the waka analogy to describe it, quoting a tupuna who said you can just be a few degrees off and end up in another country. Do you think te Pāti Māori in recent times has been a few degrees off?
I think we can accept that in the current political climate, especially with this, I would say, the most racist and fascist government we have seen in a generation. We have been in the weeds responding to their constant attacks on Te Tiriti o Waitangi, on Māori, on wahine, on our rainbow communities, on our workers, on our unions, and on our environment. And so we've been constantly responding to that. And quite often when you're in the weeds, you lose sight of actually what is it that we're here to do. And so we accept that. We've heard our people, and the reset was about, and like my niece Nerapa said, because she's on that waka heading over to Samoa, it was her that made the comment to say, if you're a few degrees off, you'll end up in a different country. And what we said was, our tipuna also had to reset as they traversed the oceans and the millions of nautical miles that they had to traverse to get here to the Aotearoa. And to their Hawaii Hau or the Aotearoa Hau. And so our job is to make sure that we hear the people, we reset and ensure that we continue the positive mahi that we have for our people, and that is to ensure that we get to the Hawaii Hau that we aspire to get to.
Just over a year of this government left. What are your top priorities, Deb, for Māori communities facing ongoing struggles?
I think our first thing is to make sure that they can see and hear themselves in us as a movement. And that was a lot about what yesterday was about. It was also to give clarity on what it is that we will stand for, what it is that we will negotiate, and to get into government. I think probably the biggest message we gave yesterday, which was a big, growth part of us as well, is that we are preparing to be in government, and we need your support to do that. And this is about making sure that our solutions, the oars that are already in the water, become our focus. It's not about te Pāti Māori reinventing our solutions, it's actually amplifying them and giving kaha to them through this space.
Yeah, you talk about, your position here is for te iwi Māori. You're here because of te iwi Māori, and you're here to fight for the kaupapa that matter to them. And we're in a cost of living crisis. Unemployment is rising. Health access is tightening. We can't even get into ED, and when we do, it takes 2 days to get out. Have you got your priorities right, do you think?
I think our priorities are always going to have to flex around what our needs of our community are. Like only a couple of days ago, we got dropped on about parents earning more than $69,000, which is effectively $55,000 net, to be responsible for their 16 to 18, 19-year-olds on job seeker. So our priorities will always be about our whānau. Our priorities will always be about the oranga of our taiao. Our priorities will also be about our vision to be able to get to the shores of Aotearoa Hau, that everyone deserves to live with dignity, that everyone deserves to be able to share in the wealth of Aotearoa. So the pou of who and what we are will always be strongly focused on our people and our taiao.
You mentioned those rangatahi Māori, half of Māori are under the age of 27, so that policy really affects rangatahi Māori.
Yep.
When we look at the unemployment stats, thousands of jobs have been lost in construction and manufacturing, which our people, that's where they work. Construction, 13,500, manufacturing and retail, another 9,000 jobs have gone. How would you tackle that?
I'm going to answer this one.
I'll allow you to answer.
He can feel the weight of his mate getting ready to tangi. I mean, this is a personal thing for me. I have a 21-year-old getting ready to move over to Australia because of the fact that as a building apprentice, he's struggling to find mahi and the quality of life that he thinks him and his partner should be having, and they should be. And so, the first thing we've got to do is stop investing in the top end of the economy. We've talked about the redistribution of wealth, but also being able to invest in our small to medium-sized businesses, being able to invest and be able to keep the resources and those of our entities here in Aotearoa, because this is the problem. We've sent everything offshore, so everyone's following that. So, it's recalibrating our economy, and we were going down a really good path. It also means recognising how the significance of the Māori economy and being able to clear all the barriers that they need out of the way to be able to exponentially grow that, because they are invested in all of our community, not just some. So it's simple twigs of the degrees of where we're moving to, but also what we've seen is it's flipping upside down the way that this economy has gone. That's why we've seen the GDP shrink. Those are the fact that they're not bringing in the interventions that they could be doing. There is no stimulus coming from this government because they don't believe they need to do that.
What are the big moves that you're going to have to do if you were to form a government that will help your son, my nephew, all of our people who are shifting over to Australia, who are rangatahi and simply can't find jobs in the regions and in the cities? What can you do? What are some of your policy ideas? Oh,
look, our whānau first policy, where we ensure that 25% of procurement goes to Māori, will ensure that there are those jobs available to our people. Unfortunately, our people and our contractors are not getting those jobs. They're going to those who are in the know. It's who you know, not what you know type process here. And you can see construction happening everywhere. But our people are not in those particular jobs. So just ensuring that Māori have a place as tangata whenua here in Aotearoa in the job market. And unemployment rates, we're double that of the unemployment rates of mainstream Aotearoa. We are over 10% of our people are unemployed. And so if we're going to start channeling our kids through training, education, and those are the catchphrases this government is using, what are we training and educating them in? What are the jobs that are available? My boy wants to go and do engineering and carpentry and wants to get into a trade. But in actual fact, are we setting him up to fail? Is that the right pathway for him if the jobs are not here? Because I don't want him to go into that and end up in Australia. And so those are just some of the issues. The other one is our tax policy. And our tax policy...
Can I just come back to that one? Because on that one, those jobs are here. And as you say, they're just the procurement process is not working for Māori. So how would you do that? Would that be a policy that you would negotiate with the Labour and the Greens in local government, for example?
Absolutely.
And we are iwi on that, corporate iwi.
Absolutely. 25% of procurement needs to go to Māori. At the moment, it's around about 4 or 5%. And the reaction to that is not working. And so we want to make sure that we can secure those jobs for our people. 25% is not a lot to ask when our people are struggling to find mahi. And then at every turn, if there's no mahi, they go on the job seeker. And now that's unavailable to 18 and 19-year-olds. It puts pressure on those whānau. And you might say that minimum wage, 33,000, and both parents on that. How are they supposed to support that particular whānau when they're paying between 33 and 39 cents in the dollar on tax, while the rich get away with 9 cents in the dollar on tax. And so the tax, I just want to go back to the tax policy. Our tax policy ensures that the redistribution of wealth filters down to those who really need it, and we're not giving $3 billion to landlords of a free ticket here. We've got 325 people, right? We've got 2% that control 50% of this country's wealth. That is a ridiculous amount of people who control the resources and the assets here in Aotearoa, and that has to be addressed. And that's definitely something both us and the Greens, both in our tax policies, agree on. And the thing is, it's our jobs to represent those communities who are affected more by these particular issues, to put pressure on those big parties, those big settler parties like Labour and National.
I think you asked about the iwi, if I can just pick that up.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is iwi are experts within their regional capacities. Yeah. They know where the regional development needs to go. And a lot of the time we're tuning up, and I've seen this within our own backyard, and we're tuning up, the government's telling us what they will invest in. We're completely disengaged from the solutions that are every day needed, and are needed by those who are never going anywhere else. And I think, when we've got that kind of co-relationship, whether it be public-private partnerships, whether it be the fact that we're going to take a bespoke regional approach to the economic development and be able to recognise what that partnering could look like. We've seen the government recently take credit. We saw Nicola Willis take credit for the Māori economy, and I have been a chair of those asset holdings companies, never seen this government engaged. In fact, they've done nothing but beat down at Māori and their solutions.
Should there be a portfolio then outside of finance that is for the Māori economy?
Yeah, I think we've been talking about what is the real depth of intervention needed, because we know that when we get into government, it's not going to be about we've got 100 days. Actually, we need the solutions by lunchtime, because the trauma that they've created is so damn bad. So I think what we need to do is actually not pretend to be the answer to everything. We should be engaging in making sure those iwi that have lined up, that have been championing these causes, that have been coming back and forth, trying to tell this place what is needed, are listened to, and that's what's invested in. And I think that's our starting point.
So we're talking about kaupapa policies at the top that eventually will trickle down. We're talking about the tax policies, about the procurement for Māori businesses, which eventually would get there. But at the moment, we have 24% of Māori children living in material poverty, more than double that of Pākehā. Yeah. What do we do there?
I think we've also seen pay equity. We've seen the way that unions have been treated. We've seen the way that Māori Pacifica, predominantly wahine, have been treated. And we all know the homes and those are affected most by the chops and the changes and the continual beatdown. And so what we do need to do is absolutely reverse a lot of what the government has done. We need to be able to make sure that we embed the living rate, not the minimum rate, so that our whānau can at least afford to breathe. I think, we've talked about taxing those who are multiple ghost home owners, and there we're able to free up, the way that we see the property markets and land developers have completely, probably have since settling, dominated the economy around. So there's, aspects like that within our workers' rights, and recognising also that there is a massive rangatahi homelessness issue. And Orani actually campaigned on that. It's her very first members bill. So we need to actually, and again, that's been done off the back of advocates who know what this place needs to do. So those are the things we need to do.
Possibly those numbers will grow with the new policy
they absolutely are.
For young people who won't be able to be supported by their parents if they earn over $65,000.
Well, look, there's a whole range of issues, and Debbie did touch on those, and one is around housing. Housing is a huge issue. The procurement, the 25% procurement in our whānau first policy will start to deal with this. So we're going to create employment. We'll also be building those homes for our whānau. You've got 50% of the social housing waiting list are Māori. And we've always said, give us 50% of the stock so we're able to house our whānau, wrap the whānau order initiative in its truest form around some of those
homes to buy.
Homes to buy,
yeah, only
absolutely.
27.5% of our people own their homes.
All those and models, but also, again, and it's not, we see the solutions happening every day. We see the iwi, we see the Māori organisations that have gone and invested in social housing and putting up. We actually need to get out of the way and give them the support and stop putting in the barriers that the procurement processes, as they already brought up before. and identify again where the solutions within the original approach to the homelessness, to the employment, to the education. We've seen UColes and Polytechnics been, wound down, closed down. It's just crazy when they've also made huge redundancies and tukoro and sea lords. And so, there is this real squeezing out we're at risk of Aotearoa becoming a land only for the elite. So, we have to, there's going to be a period of reversal. There has to be a period of reversal of what the damage this government's done.
You talked yesterday about what matters is that you were part of a movement, a coalition, an agreement that changes this government. How do you plan to achieve that?
I think the first thing, so we have been engaged. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah, what is
also
the common
really
ground?
Honestly, we didn't expect to be here till 2029. We didn't expect the growth we've had. So we've had to really sort of grow up even politically. So we've had some really healthy discussions. I mean, with Te Pāti Kakariki. We've met a few times with Labour. And we've talked about, our common grounds. There's clearly these common grounds in wealth tax. Clearly these common grounds are making sure no one's left behind. And the pain and the poverty, because we relate to a different, ordinary New Zealander than Chris Luxon and this coalition government do. So, those are the depth of the discussions, and we're now reached a point, which is what the reset was about as well, to signal to our electorates who know, because we engage with them regularly, but to signal to Aotearoa, we get it, and we don't have the benefit of trying to grow our movement and embed our MPs and learn what it needs to be. We actually have to do it now. So the discussions have been really grunty, and we get that we actually have to not only find our common ground, but find some formality to that as well.
Can you find common ground, Rawiri, with Chris Hipkins?
No, absolutely. Like if we've always said that there are some common themes that we all agree on. One is around the tiriti o Waitangi. That's part of their constitution, is a Paori tiriti o Waitangi. And so the Greens also have that. There's also some taiao alignments that we have with the Greens. And probably 80% of our policy manifesto align with the Greens policy manifesto. And so you've got two very strong parties that want for the same thing. Tiriti o Waitangi, they want for a good environment, and we want to ensure that we start to close the gaps in terms of the cost of living, and those are some of the fundamental things that our people are really feeling at this particular time, and our people are not hearing those voices in this particular government. I would say this is the most racist, fascist government we have seen for a long, long time. They are mimicking what we've seen in the past overseas, and also currently happening overseas in America and things like that, and the Americanization of our country is a concern. And so this is about the people taking back this Aotearoa that we're really proud to be in.
But on those kaupapa, it sounds like you have got common ground.
Yeah.
But in recent weeks, we've got Tākuta Whereas having a go at Pēni Henare having a go at Tākuta Whereas, Tākuta having a go at ethnic communities. Are you fighting the wrong side? Should you be, having a go at the coalition rather than your own possible potential coalition partners?
Well, quite often this is how the media wanted to play out, and this is why we've lost a little bit of trust in the mainstream media, is that they constantly grab these stories, and I've said in many speeches and also in my own disdain of the mainstream media, is that if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead, and so they will find our brown faces. And find our red blood spilt all over the floor, and that's what they will follow. I'll take, for instance, yesterday, Orini's speech. Beautiful messages of resilience, a beautiful whakapapa of what brought her here as a raukura. None of that was picked up. What they've got is an investigation that the speaker wants to do on who led the haka, whether it was whatever, and he's not going to find anything. Overreaction, as far as I'm concerned. And then you've also got that particular issue continuing to make the headlines, and in actual fact,
but
the
is
reset
but is it not
with the
continuing to be in the headlines because they continue to keep fighting amongst each
I think
other.
the thing,
They keep
though-
posting it on their socials.
Yeah, I think-
and your people are all digital natives, and so they're picking it up.
I think the thing that we do agree on is that there needs to be a healthy constitutional transformational discussion in Aotearoa. There needs to be, and actually I think all three of us agree on Mātiki Mai and being able to discuss, are we bicultural, are we multicultural? What does this mean for us in 2025? How does Te Tiriti apply to tangata tiriti, tangata whenua? Do we, and I think Mātiki Mai was going a really long way for that discussion. And I think that's what we all agree on. And unfortunately, and I've heard some of the framing, and that's what's been missed, because effectively, not a lot of our media understand that or support that. But that is something that all three parties in the coalition do agree on, is the investment in Mātiki Mai. The degree that we take it on, and I think this is where some of the tensions will be. Obviously, we want it to be out right at the front. Yeah, absolutely. And we believe the Greens do too. And I think that's why Labour needs us.
Was not about Mātiki Mai. And
Well,
even though it's spilled out into that, and that is a great discussion, Mātiki Mai, and it's a great document and everyone should read it. But that post was about Indians, Asians, Blacks and Pākehā campaigning in a Māori seat. Can you see how people were offended? And there is Māngai?
Absolutely we can.
Yeah. And your own speaker and your own supporters felt Māngai
Yeah,
about that?
absolutely. And I think, what we will try to do as leaders is maintain the authenticity of each other's voices without stifling, but also be really clear that the party is very direct on where it stands on tangata tiriti and tangata whenua. And I think at times individually, people are going to say, but the party was very clear where it stands.
How do you compromise? How do you find common ground with your partners, your potential partners, when you've got the leader of Labour saying, can't do business with that kind of whakaaro, talking about takuta, and you guys aren't really pulling them into line because you're saying nōna tērā whakaaro? How do you...
Well, look, we can go tit for tat for anything. There's a lot of whakaaros we don't support of his. But at the end of the day, this has to be a one-term government. This government is causing too much pain in our communities. If we go back to the foreshore and seabed, is the reason why we're here as the Pāti Māori. We could easily go back and say, well, we didn't agree with you there. How can we work with a party that confiscated that was the biggest confiscation this country has ever seen? But we've moved on down the track and found that there are some commonalities there, and we have to make this a one-term government to ensure we stop and ease the pain that our people are feeling on the streets right now. That must be the priority.
There are some unexplained concerns in regards to the former party whip, Maria Mino Kapa, and I just want to let you clear them up because I feel like everyone else has been talking about them and you haven't. Why did she get demoted?
Maria Mino wasn't demoted. What we had was a gap in the departure of Tash. And so she was on the Social Services Committee with us. That's where Oranga Tamariki sits. Maria Mino has been the strongest advocate for mokopuna Māori in this house, and to make sure that voice was not lost in that particular committee. The other one is that it's very administrative, that particular job, and we've got a seat at the Taitokoro that was marginal at the election, and we want to make sure that we hold on to that seat for the Pāti Māori and release Maria Mino back into her community. Those are the things that we've got to be strategic. If we're going to move towards a one-term government, we've got to start making those little adjustments to ensure that we hold on to the 6 seats that we thought we'd only get until 2029, and put our focus into Ikoro Rāwhiti, that 7th seat, to ensure that Te Pāti Māori is a viable a political voice in this particular house in regards to making up those numbers to change this government. And so that is exactly how that all played out, and to ensure that we are targeting 2026 to ensure that we are the party that chooses who the next Prime Minister is, and all numbers are showing that. We understand candidates in 25 general seats that will lift our party vote. So 7 and 7 is the strategy. 7 seats, 7%, and so we're at 4.4% at the moment, and the party is rising, and nobody can stop us. And so we're making those tweaks to ensure that we are in the position to be able to choose who the next Prime Minister is, and that's making this House and the media and the rest of the country nervous.
Do you have confidence in her?
I have confidence in all our MPs, and I have confidence in our electorates. And the electorates, those are not That's not a question for us. That is a question for Te Tai Tōrero. And so we have to work together in this house. And like Debbie said, we're going to have growing pains and things like that as we come in. And we come from all different parts and walks of life with different experiences. And so that question is not for us, but I have absolute confidence in our MPs to be the strongest advocates for their rohe and their electorates, who ultimately are the ones that have the final say on any confidence of any of us. And we've got to make sure that we always put them first. Unfortunately, the questions when asked are quite often people-centric and not people-centric. And so in terms of iwi and the people that vote them in there. And so, mā te tai tukero tēnā pātai. Mā tai tunga tērā pātai, mā wairiki tērā pātai.
But they are people-centric because they have been raised. Those questions have come from people within the party or associated to the party about people being yourselves. And, you know, one of them is Ngarewa-Packer. Do you want to respond to that, Deb?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, now this is a son. He's a son who's sticking up for his mama. And as a mama, I totally get that. And I think, you know, we are made up of a blend of multiple whānau hapu in iwi. And I liken it to us at the marae. Sometimes we're not talking to each other. But I can guarantee you the lawns will get mowed and the urupā will get weeded. And I think, you know, we just need to understand the dynamics of what it is that is, you know, playing out. And, you know, I think the thing is that with leadership comes many allegations, but you actually just have to carry on and get on with the action. And I think Rawiri and I have always said, our actions speak for ourselves. We literally moved up to Tamaki Makaurau to be around Oreni, and our actions that were achieved during Tamaki Makauro's by-election spoke for themselves. Our action of going from 2 MPs to 6 spoke for itself. Our actions of you know, how we've been able to bring resistance to kaupapa speak for itself. And our actions, we must be judged next year of whether we can get this movement into government. That's what we're here to be judged on.
You used the marae analogy that the lawns are going to get made, and I have been to many whānau hui, as have you. And also I'm on a trust board and all the rest of it, and the marae committee is the scariest of all of them.
Absolutely. This is nothing.
But a marae committee, everyone gets to be heard, and that's the allegation and the claim from Ngarewa-Packer is that you guys are not listening.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, first of all, I'm accountable to Te Tai Hauaru. Rawiri's accountable to Wairiki. Te Tai Hauaru took us from 1,000 negative to a 17,000 positive. Rawiri's in the mid to late 20,000s. That is who will judge and tell this MP whether she is able to be doing this. That is who determines who the leadership is across the line in the presidency, in the co-leadership, and the executives, not individuals. And we don't get cancelled out by individuals. Of course, everyone's allowed their opinion. Absolutely. I mean, that's not the first time we've had criticism. But we are really aware as we pivot and we reset the course to get back on track that we are going to have growing pains and we are going to make decisions. And the decisions are always made by caucus and they're endorsed at electorate level. I think some of the criticism about the AGMs, I think that's all been really answered. Personal styles of leadership, whether Rawiri and I or the executives are good enough, I think, our executives have stood in staunch support. And, whether, we're allowed to have opinions of the changes we make, absolutely. Of course they're allowed. And that's what we are. So I think, we have to sail course. And I wish we had the luxury of time to sort of whine about this for the next year. But
You've got a year.
Yeah.
So now that little waka is a little bit off, are you going to tack back in, Rawiri? Are you going to reach out to Eru and have
We've
a
already
wānanga?
tacked back in.
Yeah.
And we've always been open to those discussions. Like Debbie said, all our decisions are caucus decisions. They're not Debbie and Rawiri decisions.
No, but that is the allegation, and so that's the question: is that someone feels Māngai, a group of young rangatahi from Toetu Te Tiriti, not all of them, but a lot of them, because they've supported his kōrero.
Well, one of them.
And many have supported them, and many have supported them.
Yeah.
So, will that be something
That's
you
been
sit down?
repudiated by Toetu Te Tiriti themselves in regards to that was the take on one individual, and we acknowledge that. And we're open to have those.
Do you think it's just one?
I think what we've got is a situation where the kōrero needs to return to the electorates. And that is what's been discussed. The last thing, and you know the marae, I gave that analogy because while we may be sitting there fighting for 5 hours on where the motomo is going to be stored, we don't go out and have that kōrero as our marae with the rest of everyone else. And I think at the moment, those are the tikanga and the respect for each other's mana and the tapu of every tangata to be able to understand but also not react, not get in sort of caught into, and you'll see we haven't attacked back. We haven't spoken and said anything kino back. Sometimes you just got to be tau and be calm.
Yes.
Tēnā korua mō ira whakamārama. At the reset yesterday, a wahine Māori journalist questioned Deb. You cut her off and it's reported that you pulled her away. What happened there?
We made it clear at that particular press conference that we will be talking about the reset. And instead of framing it as a wahine Māori journalist,
He wahine Māori,
it is a TVNZ journalist.
He wahine Māori.
Yeah, Kei te pai, who is employed by TVNZ.
Yeah.
And quite often has followed a line that has, we said we want to talk about the reset. We want to be able to acknowledge Orini's maiden speech. And we quite often just, like I said, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. And this is the type of journalism and media we're seeing at this particular time. There's a lot of positive stuff happening in Te Ao Māori. Yesterday was an awesome day to be us. And we wanted to be able to have that space and to be able to celebrate. We haven't been able to celebrate that actually since she won that particular election because other news have dominated it. And the issues that got continuously brought up by the media are all about the negative viewpoint of Te Iwi Māori. And what we're saying is, give us our time to celebrate Orini coming into the house. Give us our time to be able to celebrate the reset of this waka. And that is exactly what we said to the media before that stand-up happened. And when you break the trust of that, then we don't have too much more to say.
And so can I just
but the relationship between the gallery and politicians, mai rā no, has been that you hold each other accountable, that the gallery holds you accountable. So, I mean, unless someone's being rude, then any question should really go.
Me, because that wahine Māori is talking about me without me. So first things first is that, we had made it known, we knew we were having an interview with you today. So the first time we wanted to talk about everything was with you because you took the courtesy to talk with us one-on-one. So we decided and we'd actually said before we spoke, look, we're not going to take any questions on that. And we didn't say why. But then what we got is we were in full stream to answer him. We were actually really looking forward because I'd stayed the whole day. So our transparency was actually there, our enjoying that they were there and hearing it for what, even through their own perception, was really great. And so we were getting into full stream. The thing that happens, and unfortunately, is that we don't have the relationship with when we ask, please don't come to the kura, please don't come to the shopping centre, please don't turn up, ambush, whatever the words are. And, because we've only been given permission to do it this way and that way, and our priority at the time was Orini. We were up against it. And so then yesterday, our priority, we made it really clear. We had hana and we had Orini. It was their week. And what we were trying to say is, look, we're here to talk to you about everything, but please respect that we have other things, on path, and we're not getting that respect back. There has to be a reciprocal relationship. So you're right, we want to be transparent. But, someone who wasn't even at, the person concerned wasn't even in the room where we had the reset discussion. So when Rawiri's he's not pulling me aside, he's protecting me. This little brother would never, ever push me aside or do anything because I'd slap his ears. So, that's not our relationship. What he does, and he'll make sure that I get out there safely because we have been badgered. We have, and I have been triggered. And I'm never triggered with media by the disrespect and this utu behaviour that it feels like this particular person's on. So I'm just going to put it out there that Rawiri would never, he's the least, I'm probably the one that would, push him around. So I just need to put that kōrero to stop because there is there's a demonising.
Yeah, it's an interesting
and we've
frame.
seen that language come out, particularly from that camp. Now, just to make it really
it's
clear.
just because I watched it.
And
to be fair, I was a little bit like, oh,
yeah,
what's going on there?
Just to be clear,
so I asked you the question.
We had discussed it, and I get annoyed because I was actually really looking forward to the stand-up.
I guess the thing is that Can a political party really determine what's allowed to be asked?
I don't think
in a
we're just
stand-up?
political people. We're also tangata. We're also part of a movement.
But you're
And
politicians. You've
yes,
been
but
voted
we're
in
also
by
politicians
the
that
people.
had 6-7 other media that weren't doing that. And they respected what we asked because we were having a one-on-one with you. Why would you have a one-on-one with us if we'd already given the lines to everyone else? So, these are some of the things we do to respect media because we respect you, we respect your skills, we respect you, how you amplify things. We don't always have to agree on what you say, but again, we've never been disrespectful to you.
But I've also chased people down the black
Seen
and
you
white
do it, and
tiles.
he needed it.
And so
Well done.
see how that's different.
I think-
You're asking for something
Yeah, but your
different.
difference is you've got to remember when you chased David Seymour down that hallway, you had asked him numerous times to meet. Now, that's
they
not what's
not?
happened here.
Has the media not approached you for
No, not that
for
particular one.
responses?
And when we do have discussion, she breaks everything that we agree to. And you know what? We're not the only people that do it. We've seen Winston Peters put in demands to be respected. We've put in others, and there has to be a degree of reciprocal respect. It can't be just you're politicians. You have to be to us. You have to be Cole. Let's do it. Let's do it respectfully to each other.
My final comment on this is that the media has done so much harm to our people in the past. Stuff wouldn't have to apologise for the many, many years that they have demonised our people and framed us in a racially profiling manner. And so, of course, we are very protective of how the media treat us, because once it goes online, all you have to do is look through the comments and what it stirs and the unsafe space that particular media creates for our people. You just have to read the comments. And so, of course, we're going to be protective. We're going to be protective of our stories, and we want to make sure that Māori journalism is another one that needs to be invested in, because Māori need to be able to tell these stories in their own space. Not Māori duplicating Pākehā media avenues, but in actual fact, Māori being able to tell our stories, because for far too long the media has hurt our people and continuously hurt our people, because you can see in the comments even online now, there are some very, very vicious racist comments that have been made towards not just Debbie and I, but to our people. My kids have to read that. Your kids have to read that. And so we will be protective of our stories, and we will be, because it's tapu to us. Our kōrero is tapu, and so we will make sure that we continue to be the barrier for our people heading forward with
I
the
think
media.
too, just on that note, we determine, and so do our people, on which media matter too. This place here, the media think they're the be-all and end-all. Actually, we've been doing a lot of media. We've done BHN, we've done Wātea, we've done podcasts, we've done international, we've done Pacific, we've done a whole lot.
We've done
We
mata.
just haven't done these ones who think that they are the be-all and end-all.
Horini Kaipara, she did her maiden speech yesterday. She took that seat by a landslide, 89%. What learnings are you going to take away for the next election? And have you found someone for Te Tai Rāwhiti?
We have.
Yeah.
Hayley Maxwell.
Ikaroa-Rāwhiti.
And so Ikaroa-Rāwhiti
She's
has
amazing.
already been, she's already been the nominated candidate for, and what a phenomenal,
She was with us yesterday.
what a phenomenal candidate she will be in that particular space. Well known. all
How
up and
are you
down
going to
the
make that
coast.
happen again? What are you
Same
going to
way.
take away? What
Same way.
is
We're
it?
gonna
Is
go
it
out to our
online?
people. We're going
yeah.
to be on the ground. Because even keep sort of saying we were running a online only. Actually, we did an and her community and Ikaroa-Rāwhiti are going to own it. They're already mobilising. They were activators, and you've got to remember the hikoi was driven by our activators on the ground, and she was a critical part of that. So
For the
they're
coast,
already they've been out there showing their strength in the Māori wards. They've been out there mobilising and keeping and invigorating their volunteers. So just the same, but we've got more time. She's phenomenal. She's
I think the
seriously
by-election was also a message to the rest of the country, is that the stronghold Labour used to have on those Māori seats is no longer, because that would have had easily swung back to Labour. Our people are the most strategic and intelligent voters in this country, and they're starting to see and want a different voice in these seats. And so Ikaroa-Rāwhiti has never fallen to Te Pāti Māori, but I've never seen the growth of the movement in one electorate in a very short period of time. And so when she turned up for her nomination, busload
Buses.
turned up.
Yeah.
And we'd never seen that in any other electorate in terms of just the nomination. That was, hundreds of people came to ensure that Hayley was their voice. And I'm just really excited because Ikaroa-Rāwhiti, here we come.
Tai ho ka kitea. Tēnā rau atu kōrua. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe.